What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with some Raid Shadow Legends. I thought we'd do kind of an interesting video today and talk about the starter champions that you can get in the game when you first start playing. There's a lot of information out there about the starter champions, but a lot of it's pretty outdated. This game's been out for 3 or 4 years now, and a lot of people have a very set idea on who you have to pick every single time when you start a new account. That information is pretty outdated, and everyone's always going to say that you should take Kayle as your starter. I personally feel like that information is a little bit wrong, and especially now with a lot of the stuff they've added into the game. And I also think Kayle is very overrated as a starting champion with the state Raid is in right now. So if we go into the index, obviously when you first go through the tutorial, you've got the opportunity to choose Elhain, or you can choose Athel, wherever she is right here. Then from the orcs, you have the choice of Golek right here, or you can go with the dark elf that everybody likes to go with, and that is Kayle. Here he is right here. Now, actually, we did take Kayle on this. This is my free-to-play account we're on right now. He's our starter here. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've played probably 4 or 5 raid accounts in my time playing this game. I have my main account now, I have my free-to-play account, I have a third account on the side that I play here and there, which is basically like a challenge account where I try to do stuff with rare champions, and we're trying to see how fast we can get Arbiter. But I've basically played a different starter on every single account I've tried. We've got Kayle on this one. My main account, I took Elhain, and then on the other one I'm playing now, I have Golek. I've done Athel on a different account. I can tell you this right now, if you know what you're doing and how to farm effectively and how to go through content in the game, it's not going to matter who you pick. They can all perform very well. Some of them do have a little bit of specialty in certain areas, and one of the reasons that a lot of people say you should take Kayle is because he does have a lot of poison. He's got poison on the A1, and he's got poison on his A3. Now, this was basically to help you out with the clan boss and to help you out with dragon farming early in the game, since both of those bosses are very susceptible to poison damage. But the thing is, with Raid now, there's so many champions in this game that can do poison and serve you very well early on as a poisoner. If you're pulling all your mystery shards all the time, more than likely you're going to wind up getting this common champion or uncommon champion, Outlaw Monk, who does have the poison on his A2. And that's actually plenty on early clan boss. You can actually use 2 of these guys too if you want to. You can take them to 40 or 50, and that'll serve you pretty much up through brutal. But more than likely what's going to happen is you're going to wind up pulling... let's see, where is she? Is she undead? Or I always get Frozen Banshee confused with Diabolus because they have the same colored skin. So I'm like, they're both blue skin. They should both be demon spawn, right? But you got Frozen Banshee here. So pretty much every single account I've had, I've wound up pulling her off mystery shards within a month or 2. So she basically completely negates the need for Kayle in clan boss, and in dragon we use her all over the place. I use her in my ultra nightmare clan boss team. You're not going to be able to use Kayle in your ultra nightmare team unless you've got some insanely crazy gear. So she'll be able to serve you in that poison spot, once you eventually pull her. Or like I said, Outlaw Monk, there's a lot of other poisoners in the game you can use as well. So Kayle's whole thing about having poison and needing it super early in the game is not really a great point for him anymore. Now you have Golek. I played Golek on my other account, and he's not bad. He hits pretty hard. He's got a 2-hitter on the A1. He's got this attack all with Hellraiser, which is pretty nice. Can do the increased speed, and he's got this attack 4 times at random. I'm not a huge fan of this because of the randomness. It does hit very hard, but if for some reason you don't wipe people in arena with the A2, it's going to be kind of hard to clean up with the A3 if it doesn't hit everybody. This also has a decreased defense on him, which is nice. So he's got a good kit, but I still think of all the 4 starters, he's probably the one who could use a little bit of love from Plarium, possibly. But now we're going to talk about the 2 starters I think that you actually should choose between now that the game has changed quite a bit. So we have Athel here. She used to be really good way back in the day when Weekend was a lot more powerful on the clan boss. But the first thing here is she's got a 3-hitter on her A1. That's really key. She's got this attack all, which hits really hard. You got a 15% chance of inflicting a critical, so if you really wanted to, you could just take her to 85% crit rate. You do the increased attack here, gives her the extra turn. She also gets the increased defense if she's down below 50% HP. She's got a very solid kit for dungeons. And all of these starters can farm 12-3 as well. You actually can farm 12-3 in 8 to 10 seconds with most of your starters as long as you have good gear. On my other account, Galek can do it in like 12 seconds. I've done videos in the past showing Elhain doing it in 8 seconds. Ethel can do it in 8 seconds. Kale can do it in 8 seconds. So once you get to a point in the game where you have the gear, you don't have to build a Fellhound or a Saurus or any of these other campaign farmers everybody likes to rave about. You don't have to waste your resources doing that. It's still kind of fun, but at the same time, your starter can do that. Once you take your starter out of your arena team and out of your dungeon teams, they can become your campaign farmer, basically. So all of them are pretty good. And the one cool thing is how people used to say, hey, you need Kale for the poison, for the dragon, and for the clan boss. I actually say that Athel now is more viable than Kale because Dragon's Dungeon is really not a super viable way to farm early game. You can get to Dragon 13, but you're still going to be getting random drops. You're not going to be able to focus on speed and lifesteal like you need to. So it really doesn't matter. You don't need to be farming Dragon. You need to be farming in the campaign on the brutal stages, Stage 6 and Stage 8, which is also going to play into this a little bit. But one of the most important dungeons that you need to farm is going to be the Fire Knight. And having Athel, you're going to be building her anyway. She's got a 3-hitter A1. It's going to be huge against that shield and help you progress in Fire Knight early on. I think that's a great point with her, having that 3-hit A1. And, Dragon just to me anymore is not the way to go, especially when you can get Perception gear out of the Forge now, which is going to have speed and accuracy, so it kind of negates the purpose of having to farm a lot of Dragon early in the game. Like I said, you need to be farming campaign for your main stat pieces anyways. So that brings us to Elhain, who I honestly think is probably the frontrunner right now, in my opinion, for who should be the best starting champion in the game. She hits very hard. If she hits critical here, she's going to give you an extra hit on the A1. Attacks one enemies, then attacks all enemies on the A2. Again, you got that 50% extra chance of the critical. And then if she kills anybody, she puts a 30% increased crit rate on herself. So again, you don't have to build her with max crit rate if you can get these skills to land. And then you got Valley of Death, which is a very hard-hitting AoE. You can use this... if I really wanted to on main account, I could take my Elhain into Gold 5 and still nuke with this ability. It hits very, very hard. It hits everybody 2 times. So very powerful ability. You'll notice the one cool thing here, though, with Elhain, no debuffs. So that means you do not have to build for accuracy, which is a very hard stat to get early on in the game. All your other starters are going to need to have accuracy. Galek's going to have it to land his debuffs. Kale's going to have it to land his poisons. Ethel's going to have it to land her weaken. So that's actually one less thing you have to worry about on your starting champion. And since accuracy gear is so difficult to get good pieces of early in the game, it saves you from having to build another statistic. So that's really why I like Elhain. I think she's actually a really good pick. And when we go into the campaign here, it's going to look even better. So one of the things I often tell people, this is some good advice that was given to me when I was starting the game. A lot of content creators will tell you to go farm 12-3 for silver once you can do brutal 12-3. That's actually not great advice because you want to be looking for gear as well out of the campaign, because the campaign is the most consistent way to get gear, 4 and 5 star pieces early on. And if you're farming 12-3, you're going to get the curing set, which is incredibly niche. You're not going to use it on anybody unless you're running some kind of crazy super late game build and you've been getting really exceptional pieces out of the Fire Knight. It's not a set a lot of people use, like I said, other than very niche use on some healing champions. You're going to want to be in Stage 6 and Stage 8, Palace of Aravia and Valdemar Strait. So Palace of Aravia, obviously, you're going to get speed gear. You're going to want this on all your champions. You're going to need speed gear for arena. You're going to need speed gear for running dungeons and basically any content in the game. If you can get to like 200 speed on a champion, for most PvE content, you're going to be in a really good spot. Now, on my other account, which is the one where we're trying to get Arbiter fast, we're already in Gold 4 on that account, and I've only been playing that account for a little over 3 months. I have all 4 of my arena champions at basically like 250 speed plus already. My Haikatoon is higher than that. Just mainly from farming this stage and getting green drops that have speed substats that are guaranteed to roll, at least the first one. You'll get some blue drops from the boss once in a while, and I've kind of combined that with the stuff I've been lucky enough to get from Dragon. to make some pretty fast champions early on. So, you know, you're going to come in here, you're going to obviously want to farm up some speed boots from the stage specifically. If you can get a couple 5-star sets of speed boots, it's very beneficial. That's where you're going to do your farming instead of going to 12-3. Now you'll notice here, you can also get these 2 rare elves that will drop from the stage. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Then you got Valdemar Strait. This is where you're going to be farming most of your main stat lifesteal gear early on in the game, so you can then put that on your clan boss champions. You'll see here, you also do get a rare Sacred Order drop here with Templar. Only 1 rare can drop here, so stage 6 is actually a bit more efficient if you're trying to get more of those rare champions. But you're going to notice that High Elves and Sacred Order, these are the 2 main stages you're going to be farming early in the game if you're doing it efficiently. So you're going to be getting a lot of those rare drops, which that means now with the Guardian Ring, you've got Faction Guardians. So you come in here to High Elves, and you can see here we actually do have a couple of those in here. This is on the free-to-play account here. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be farming those stages anyways. You're going to be getting these characters to drop. So look what you can do for your Elhain early. I mean, this is pretty easy to fill out. I know on my side account that I play, like I said, 3 months in, I've already got this filled out for both of these factions on the rares from farming so much stage 6 and stage 8. So your Elhain's going to get plus 10% HP, plus 10% attack. We don't really care about the accuracy. Resistance is nice, plus 10% defense, and plus 3 speed. At the same time, if you did take Athel for your starter, you're going to get the same thing here, plus 10 HP, plus 10 attack, 7 accuracy, 7 resistance, defense, and speed. All these stats are super helpful. And when you look in the Great Hall, let's see here, you can see this is the free-to-play Great Hall. We don't have it quite as developed as before. Let's just take HP, for example. In order to get a 10% bonus in HP for Elhain or Athel, we would have to get a level 6 Great Hall unlocked, which I can tell you early on in the game, it takes quite a while, unless you're doing a ton of arena, which early on can be very difficult. So just from getting 2 rares and plugging them into that Faction Guardian, you're getting the equivalent of a level 6 Great Hall bonus. Obviously just for that faction, but if you're using Elhain as a starter, it's going to apply to her. If you're using Athel as a starter, it's going to apply to her as well. Now you could do the same thing for Kael with Dark Elves, you could do the same thing for Golek for Orcs, but the stages that drop the rares from the campaign, you don't really want to be farming them early on because the gear is not something you're going to be using early in the game, and it's just not efficient to not be farming speed or lifesteal early on. So I think when you take all of that into account now in 2022, this is actually July of 2022 if you're watching the video late, I think that kind of shores up Athel and Elhain as being what I would call the top 2 choices for your starting champion now, and I would lean a little bit heavier into Elhain because she does not need the accuracy in her kit anywhere, so it's going to let you build in more damage. It's going to help you out in arena, help you get through waves in dungeons, and obviously for campaign farming as well. And I kind of feel like you would be better off going with one of those 2. Then picking Kael, like everybody says, and then you can always, like I said, pick up a different poisoner that you can just use as a utility for a while until you start getting into really serious clan boss later on. Then you can look at getting a dedicated poisoner. And again, a lot of this is because, to me personally, I don't feel like dragon farming is really a thing anymore. If you want to have an efficient account, you're going to be using the Forge to make that perception gear to get your accuracy and your speed. You know, the first couple of weeks, maybe even a month or so in the game, you're going to be farming stage 6, farming stage 8 to get your speed and your lifesteal, to kind of get your account started off on a good foot with the speed gear and with the lifesteal gear, so you can start doing dungeons and clan boss later on. So with all that taken into account, I think Athel and Elhain are probably your 2 best choices for a starter in 2022. And again, not to say any of the starters are bad. Like I said earlier, I've played different accounts with all of them. It doesn't matter who you pick. You're still going to be able to get to end game. As long as you kind of have a good idea of what you're doing with the game and you're playing well and being efficient with your account, you should still be able to reach that. So don't feel bad if you picked a certain starter and you don't, necessarily think they're the best. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, they can all farm 12-3 really fast. They can all do, what they need to do. Just some of them are a little bit better in certain areas, like Athel with Fire Knight, Kael, yes, in Dragon and Clan Boss early if you really want to use them for that. And then Elhain just for overall, since she doesn't need that accuracy in her kit. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on who you would pick as your starter, given that it's 2022 and the game's had so many updates and different things that have kind of changed the dynamics a little bit. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again next time.